Points on the talk station, FM 107.1. In keeping with the military theme of the week, and of course, this in relationship to Memorial Day, we have several guests joining us this afternoon to talk about some upcoming events. As a matter of fact, Bob Kirk reminded me of one event taking place this weekend, so we're going to get into that here in just a moment and make sure that I've got everybody on tap. I'm going to say to Bob, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Lockwood.
And we have John Sordicus joining us by phone. John, good afternoon to you as well.
Good afternoon, Lockwood.
And then we have Pete Benton in here in the studio. And Pete, get a little closer to that microphone. I know that scares you, but good afternoon to you.
And proud to have served my country.
Let's talk here for a moment. Pete, what's your background?
Background, United States Navy, right at the end of Vietnam. Came back, went back to school, undergrad, graduate degrees, political science.
I'm going to get you to get a little closer.
Okay. After I did my Navy time right at the end of Vietnam, and then I came back to school in East Carolina, played football with a guy named Ruffin McNeil, then went on to join the Air Force and was selected for the Presidential Honor Guard for Ronald Reagan.
Okay, and that Presidential Honor Guard is going to come up here in a few moments. John, you are as I understand correctly, you are the vice chairman of the Carter County Veterans Coalition. Is that correct?
Currently the chairman of the coalition. Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. All right. So chairman of the coalition, I'll get that right. And
no worries.
And you are also with Post 46, American Legion Post 6. I'm sorry. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
And we have in the studio Bob Kirk. Who we've worked with in the past on the issue of the Veterans Day Parade, and that's what the topic will be. But Bob is also with, you are with Post 46, your title again?
I'm Judge Advocate for Post 46 and just a member of the coalition.
Okay, Veterans Coalition.
Yes.
Before we get into Veterans Day, let's talk about another program that's taking place this weekend. What's on tap?
Kayak for the Warriors and Pine Knoll Shores.
Mm-hmm.
Pine Knoll Shores and the veterans out there have done a great job over the past year in putting this on. They raise money for Hope for the Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to begin with ceremonies at 9:30 to be the national anthem sung by Angela Baker. We'll have some patriotic music out there. The race will start at 10 a.m.
And where does the race go?
It goes through the canals of Pine Knoll Shores. So it starts at Garner Park, goes through the canals, comes out the far end, and then the last run is about a mile back to the where they started.
Okay. And what vessels are we going to be talking? Mostly paddle boards, but
everything from kayaks to canoes. People decorate paddle boards are there. You've got people that will be there extremely fast and some that will be out there for a few hours and just come out and have fun.
All right. And by the way, registration involved?
Yes, registration. It'll be open at Garner Park. So come early, get registered. Come early, beat the crowd to get your boats in the water.
Right. It's a great, and the turnout is growing every year.
Yes, it grows every single year, raising more and more money for Hope for the Warriors.
Okay. Let's talk about purpose of Hope for the Warriors. What is that organization? All right, I'll go to John on that one, or Pete. Which one? Pete?
I believe it. My understanding of it is that Hope for the Warriors is an organization. It's national, I believe. And what they like to do is try to work with veterans, especially veterans with PTSD and veterans who've served in combat, and bring them together as brothers and sisters for a common purpose, and to kind of build that esprit de corps and build the unity.
Okay. All right. And, a little later on in the program, of course, in the second half of this program, an interview we did earlier today, as you heard, with John Burns of the Concerned Veterans for America, and particularly an issue, and I saw John Sordicus at the Memorial Day event Monday, which, by the way, was well done, John. I want to congratulate you and all that were involved in that. You mentioned the fact that the significance of the suicide rate and how, unfortunately, our area seems to be has a significant number. John, tell us something about this before we get into other issues.
Yes, sir. Well, that was what started Together with Veterans and really spearheaded Veterans Coalition of the Crystal Coast. And I know at the time Bob was leading the charge on that when the VA approached Carteret County. Primarily one of 3 locations within the United States that had the highest veteran suicide rates. So it's really grown over the last few years to really bring awareness, prevention, and intervention to the veteran community within Eastern North Carolina. We're not just stuck to the county lines of Carteret County. It's from RDU all the way east. So it's really a massive organization that depends on everyone involved, to try and at least bring awareness and intervention to veteran suicide.
Well, I think that this is an issue that really resonates within our county, and I, of course, take great pleasure in being a part of at least acknowledging this issue, but also finding some solutions to it. Bob, I'm looking at you. You were thinking about saying something. Feel free. Nothing?
No, it's just that our program, we started in 2018. We've had many challenges along the way with hurricanes, COVID,
yeah.
but we're still struggling. We're going along just fine right now, and we want to reach out to everybody we can and provide some suicide prevention training for anyone.
I think also it's making the community aware of circumstances. The old adage, see something, say something. So we won't focus on that today, but let's talk about the reason for our for this program this afternoon. And I saw a story that's appearing in the Carteret County News-Times, Carolina Coast Online, as a matter of fact, covering this right now. And that has to do with Veterans Day, the Veterans Day Parade. And John, let me start with you in your capacity as chairman of the Veterans Coalition. What exactly is the plan here with Veterans Day?
Well, we'll be hosting the Veterans Day Parade on November 4th at 11 o'clock. Our capabilities have grown a lot since last year. I think we have over 43 active committee members right now, which was unbelievable since last year. So we're very blessed to have this capability right now, and it's everybody that's so engaged and involved. And it's not just veterans. I mean, we have everybody that we could imagine and that we could ever want with different skill sets that are coming to the table to make sure that this is the biggest and best Veterans Day parade yet.
Of course, I've bragged on this for years with former Veterans Director, Carteret County Veterans Director, Hank Goddard on this. Carteret County had the largest Veterans Day parade in the state and one of the largest in the South Atlantic. Bob, your thoughts?
That's exactly right. We want to grow it this year. Our numbers dwindled by a few hundred in the last couple of years, but we're going to make this one bigger and better.
All right. And it's taking place what date, John?
November 4th.
November 4, Veterans Day. Okay, we're talking about that in order. I'm gathering also, because I saw the story, you're looking for volunteers and participants, right, Bob?
That's correct. We have a website open right now. It's CarteretCountyVeteransDayParade.com. It's up and running. You can look on there for information about the parade, and there's a place for volunteers if you want to volunteer, and registration is now open.
Okay. One of the things I've always sort of bothered me is the veterans are giving a party for themselves. I think the county should be more participatory, and so I would put the call out for those listening to the program. One more time, that website, Bob.
CarteretCountyVeteransDayParade.com.
Okay. It's easy to remember, and it is long, but still, you know what you're writing for. That time to participate. All right, we've got Pete Benton here in the studio. I'm going to get him even closer to that microphone because you are bringing in you've been doing some work on this. Pete,
Yes.
What have we got coming
Yes,
for
sir.
veterans?
Several years ago, I started working with the VCC, and I found it was an exceptional organization committed to the mental health and wellness of all of our veterans, but in particular, recognizing the men and women who've been the defenders of freedom.
Right.
And having been a military veteran myself, U.S. Navy right at the end of Vietnam, then coming back in the Air Force, I had the privilege and the pleasure to serve with some of the most exceptional young men and women in this country. I was very excited. I've contacted my former unit, the United States Air Force Presidential Honor Guard, and specifically requested 2 elite units. Number 1, the Elite Ceremonial Marching Unit, and number 2, the Honor Guard Drill Team. I've not heard back. They're working on the schedule as we speak, but I'm very, very excited. If they participate, it will be the first time in the history of Carteret County in eastern North Carolina that a presidential unit has come to this area. My long-term goal, Lockwood, is I want the American people here, especially in eastern North Carolina, to see America's best and brightest. Your Presidential Honor Guards are the top 1% of all the military. They're selected from all 5 military branches. They work directly for the White House. They do all their ceremonies at the White House, the Pentagon, Arlington National Cemetery. It's a 4-year controlled special duty assignment. You get a top secret presidential access clearance. As a matter of fact, many of the guys I've served with went on to become U.S. Secret Service agents. One in particular, the guy who was just, matter of fact, President Trump brought him back, was Thomas J. Sullivan. He was the commander of the Uniform Division of the U.S. Secret Service. I was the guy who got him the job at the White House.
Bragging here. All right. Okay. So this is, I'm seeing a lot of energy here. I got to ask John, and again, John Surdick is with us this afternoon also, and as we've correctly fixed, he is the president of the Carteret County Veterans Coalition. What happened last year, John? We were coming out of COVID, I recognize that, and then, of course, the interruptions associated with Hurricane Florence. But what do you think happened last year that it just did not pan out?
I think what we were running into was a lot of just a lack of volunteering across the board, and lots of veteran service organizations experienced it. I know many organizations, not just veteran-centric ones, were experiencing kind of like a dry spell with volunteering. But you know what happened, I think, last year was we were still able to accomplish a Veterans Appreciation event. And I think that helped people to understand what happens when we don't have enough people to volunteer. So this year, in addition to the regular volunteers that we've accumulated throughout from this past experience, we've gotten really engaged with local government. The townships and the counties are leaning ahead to really be proactive in their support in this parade happening.
You know, it is, and I'm just going to say, it's also, if you get right down to it, a tourism program too. It's a development issue because a lot of people learn about the area as a result of our military investment, our military community. We've got a lot of retirees, but there are people who are just interested and want to show their support. We've only got a few minutes left here, but Bob, I want to go to you in comparison to the previous years. And of course, obviously, Hank Goddard played a big role in this. We've got to give him a little credit, actually a lot of credit. Your experience with him in those years.
Oh, it was great working with Hank. He was the driving force behind it, but we've also got to give credit to Edie. She was working so hard behind the scenes. So coming out of the Veteran Services office with Hank and Edie, they're pushing us and making sure we got everything done in time.
They were constantly meeting.
Absolutely. We had lots of meetings.
You had a lot of meetings. You know, I was looking back at a comment that was made about Hank, and of course, I'm now retired, United States Marine Corps, and a fantastic individual, still with us, but again, he is retired. The fact that when he took over the Veterans Department here, the County Veteran Services, it was one of the most inefficient, according to officials from North Carolina, one of the most efficient. By the time of his retirement, it was the #1 Veteran Services office.
Yes, we have 100 counties. It was #1 in the county for the worst, and 100th as being the worst. And when he left, it was the top.
It was the top county. I know that veterans from other counties would make phone calls to Hank for assistance in that regard. All right,
Yes.
wrapping it up. November 4th is Veterans Day Parade, Morehead City. And John, it's going to be the same route from, 1500 Street all the way to 500 Arundel Street. Is that about right?
It's from 17th Street
17th.
to 5th Street.
Okay, 17th to 5th. All right, and Bob's got that information. All right, and one more time, Bob, that webmail, pardon me, that email address.
Carteret County VeteransDayParade.com.
Carteret County VeteransDayParade.com, and you're looking for more volunteers and participants, and that would be including people to march in the parade.
Yes, registration's at that website, and we can always use volunteers. We've got a lot of folks working right now, but if you want to volunteer, we'll find some work for you.
Oh, wait a second. All right, just want to make mention that, Pete, thank you for your assistance in this,
sir.
and best of luck in getting that that honor guard from Washington, D.C. I think it'd be exciting. All right, we're going to wrap it up, and I want to thank John Sortikes, Bob Kirk, and Pete Benton for your time this afternoon, and to remind you about the upcoming Veterans Day Parade, November 4th. We're going to make it the best ever. And in the process, we want to thank our sponsor for the afternoon. We want to thank Advanced Water Systems, the folks that are treating water nicely, as I keep mentioning, the source, the only source for all things Connecticut, from Washington, D.C. to Georgia, from Piedmont to the coast. I mention this each and every day. For outstanding water products, water softening, water purification, check out the products from Connecticut, available only from Advanced Water Systems. To go online, ConnecticutAdvancedWaterSystems.com. ConnecticutAdvancedWaterSystems.com. Give them a call locally. Old Cherry Point Road in New Bern, 635-6222. Home office and showroom. Highway 70 East between Newport and Morehead City, 223-4444. And, of course, their new office in Jacksonville, next door to Lowe's, 910-333-1532. That's Advanced Water Systems, the people that are treating water nicely.